Greetings, human intellects of this world. Our journey continues in your medieval times, and the attempts of humans to reach the profound layers of your reality. Humans in the Western world began to study Aristotle's works throughout the medieval period. For the following 2 centuries, the majority of literature on the sciences were expositions of and comments on Aristotle's teachings. One novel development throughout your medieval period was the suggestion of processes for determining causes. As we have seen, Aristotle advocated 2 inductive procedures, simple enumeration and intuitive induction. Direct generalization is simple enumeration. One investigates ostensibly related occurrences. What is observed to be true of individuals leads your intellect to the conclusion that what is observed is also true of the species, or group, to which the individuals belong. If accurate, the generalization broadens your understanding of a causal process. As for intuitive induction, it is a capacity of your intellect, forged by extensive experience. It's your ability to distinguish the essential features of things, and draw conclusions from them. Now, human theorists of the Middle Ages agreed with Aristotle that causal relationships are revealed by induction. They developed several further inductive techniques that were methodologically advanced. Unfortunately, however, they failed to expand at that period your intellect's understanding of causal relations through particular implementations of these techniques. As a first example, we will see the attempt of the human named Robert Grosseteste to identify causal factors of an event under study. Robert Grosseteste inquired as to how it was possible to tell whether a certain herb resulted in purgation. He proposed that if the herb was administered in several cases, with no additional purgative agents present, and purgation happened in each case, causal status could be proved. Grosseteste's suggestion, viewed as an inductive principle, foreshadows what became known as the joint method of agreement and difference that we will discuss shortly. Let H represent the herb in question, P represent purgation, and A, B, C, and so on, represent additional conditions that exist when H is administered to a subject. Grosseteste's technique can thus be depicted in the following table. We have 3 instances, 1, 2, and 3. Each instance is characterized by a set of circumstances. For example, in the first instance, it has been administered to a subject the herb, denoted by H, and it is characterized also by A, which could denote that the subject ate also an apple, and B, which could denote that the subject had drunk 3 cups of water. In the first instance, given that the herb was administered, the phenomenon of purgation occurred. Likewise, in the other instances, the herb has been administered to the other subjects, and purgation followed, despite the other varying circumstances. Now, in the column below, Grosseteste could infer a shallow causal analysis of events. In particular, the herb in conjunction with circumstances A and B were followed by P, namely purgation. The circumstances A and B alone, that is, that the subject ate an apple and had drunk 3 cups of water, were not followed with purgation. The same applies to the other events. Despite that Grosseteste did not perform the studies necessary to support the hypothesis that H causes P, he was in the right direction for your evolution on causal manipulation. Grosseteste observed that if a statement about an effect can be drawn from more than one set of premises, it is preferable to discard all but one of the explanations. His intellect insisted that if a hypothesis is proved to imply particular consequences, and if it is later demonstrated that these consequences are false, then the hypothesis itself must be false. This kind of deductive reasoning is what you call modus tollens. If you know by past experience that, if H occurs and C follows, but in your current setting C does not follow, then by necessity, H did not occur. Given a certain set of hypotheses, each of which may be used as a premise to derive a given conclusion, namely, an effect that you are interested in, You use modus tollens arguments to discard all hypotheses, except one of them, where the conclusion or effect is confirmed by your observation. However, to do this, it would be necessary to demonstrate that all, except one of the hypotheses, imply further, demonstrably false conclusions. For instance, in the example of the Herbert purgation, the shallow causal analysis of events demonstrates the use of modus tollens. Particularly, the hypothesis that if a subject drinks 3 cups of water, then purgation occurs is falsified by experience, since, by observation, purgation does not follow. Likewise, the hypothesis that the consumption of an apple causes purgation is again falsified in that instance, since purgation is not observed to occur. However, the hypothesis that if a subject consumes the herb, then purgation is followed is verified by experience, since purgation is observed to occur. Grosseteste used also this method of falsification to prove his theory about how the sun produces heat. Unfortunately, however, his syllogistic attempts were futile, since he lacked the right number of observations to grasp the fine details of the very event's behavior. But, what is of great importance here, is that Grosseteste wasn't the first human to employ the deductive reasoning patterns of the so-called modus tollens to disprove competing hypotheses. The systematic use of this strategy to complement Aristotle's methods for evaluating scientific hypotheses was Grosseteste's accomplishment for your evolution of thought regarding the explanation of your world's behavior.